Right. So, first, I just want to make sure that you give consent to be on, for me to use your image and what you say, and this is your express opinions, right?
Sure, thank you.
So, could you introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Joe LaMattina. I'm a Hackensack resident and former teacher in the Hackensack school system.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, I was a teacher for in Hackensack for 36 years.
Okay.
Openly gay teacher in Hackensack. One of many. Some not so open, but yes, one of many.
So let me ask you, so you're openly gay, so that's how LGBT relates to you. So how was it for you living in Bergen County without a resource center and being an open gay man?
Well, being literally an old gay man, I went through my whole coming out process during the '70s when things actually, in my opinion, were a little bit tougher to do. Number one being that being classified as homosexual was still on the U.S. The Department of Psychiatry, and mental illness had just changed. I don't know the exact date, but I'm going to guess like 1970, 1971. So I was just getting out of high school and finding myself in the world. So at that point, I guess, I had a girlfriend. I went through the whole thing, legit girlfriend at the time. And when I got to college, my eyes opened up a little bit, and I kind of knew something else was happening. So at that time, I didn't really, know too many gay people. I actually wrote a letter to someone on TV. I saw one guy that I identified as gay person. I remember being like, very young, and I'm writing a letter saying, "I'm like you, and there's another person out here. You're not alone." But in the '70s, when I went to college, there happened to be on the campus a gay alliance. So I would kind of like sneak around and kind of like check things out, make myself a little available. And so my first really connection to that was actually dropping in with someone that was in my class, one of my classes. And that's kind of how my eyes kind of opened up to what was going on, really. So I
Right.
didn't really have a gay center in terms of living I did live in Hackensack. I'm a lifelong resident here.
Yeah.
But I didn't really have a place in Hackensack to go to.
And how about now? You're still in Hackensack. You know, there still needs to be met, and how's it? Being a part of the community, we rely
Right,
on each other,
right,
and we by word of mouth is everything.
right.
So, um, what's it like for you now?
Anthony, for me, it was, I have to say, I guess I was really blessed because I didn't really have negative experiences coming out. I guess there were a couple of little things, but nothing really that was so major and earth shattering
Mm,
for me. So I was really one of the fortunate people, again, especially during that time. It was a time right after the Stonewall riots, as I was saying, the whole thing of, being a mental illness. But once I came out, I came out. And so I guess I kind of just eased into things, and it was just kind of really. I always found it. I put my cards on the table very openly, and like very transparent. So for me, it was I just kind of lived my life, and I was bald, I was male, I was a teacher, I was gay. Like it didn't matter to me, and then, so I never really made it like a focus really
mhm.
in my life. And I've always found that, I guess, once I got past over the thing of actually coming out, I just felt it was just so much. It was just such a burden, like off my own shoulders, just to be who I am. And you like people for who they are, and
Yeah.
you would think that people like people for who they are, but some people are still very judgmental. But I didn't really have any really problems with that. What I did, do consciously in terms of looking for support was as a teacher. Um, I taught 22 years at the elementary school, so it really wasn't an issue there. But when I moved to the high school, uh, even before I got there, I said to myself, eventually you're dealing with teenagers, and you can't, be as a teenager that, and I'm very open. But so I said, I knew that eventually the time would come, where this conversation would have to be had at the high school. And it was so smooth and it was so easy. And, you know, I thought that that was part of my job to even transfer to high school. Like I was teacher, and I knew I was going to be like mentor into this area, and it's really how I made it happen. And the kids were really wonderful. They did have in high school at the time. The kids really initiated a gay straight alliance,
Hmm.
and they needed a person in charge, a teacher. So I was one of the two teachers, and that was really a great experience because I kind of saw it really firsthand. The kids would come. I was the art teacher, so of course, my platform was open, the classroom was open, and I heard more things than I needed to hear. But
Yeah.
that's just who I am as a person. But the Gay Straight Alliance was a really great thing. It was more straight kids helping their gay friends, and who were gay kids, and that was a really great experience, and it helped a lot of people, and we did great things for other towns. We were invited to talk in Teaneck at the Teaneck Ethical Society.
Oh yeah,
We went,
I know them.
yeah,
They're
they
awesome.
did a couple talk. They did one talk as a group, and I did one talk as a gay man. My coming out party, I called it, because I never really, had this is happening, a big story. Mine was so boring to all the other compared to all the other
You
stuff.
didn't get your tiara.
Right now, I'm still waiting. Quick. But we spoke with other kids too, like it was Ridgewood. This is on top of my bald head, but in Ridgewood we spoke at they spoke. They were really bright kids at Teaneck. Ridgewood. I forget what it was. It was some religious thing for teenagers. They had different talks on different, and so when the talk came about homosexuality, they called me and asked if I would bring some of the kids over. That was another great thing. So great to see.
Yeah, and we're very blessed in New Jersey because we have a lot of good laws in place that keep us safe. And we have, like you said, we have lots of schools that have the GSAs, gay straight alliances. But then there's
Right,
lots of schools that don't have GSAs. You know
right,
what I mean? Not every school has this.
right,
And
right,
then, there's towns where you have detectives and police officers that are very, you know, um, they do their due diligence, they're informed, they get, some training, and then
right,
go, a mile out of town to another town, and they
right.
don't have that, right?
Exactly, exactly. Yeah,
So what I'm talking about is like having a place, a centralized place where if you have a need for something, you can go
right,
there. So
right,
like for instance, if I don't know your history, but if you ever
right,
have dealt with sexual assault, if you ever dealt with domestic abuse as a gay man,
right,
what services are available to you?
right. Yeah, yeah.
And where would you go?
Right,
And if you
right,
weren't
right,
blessed with a house, where would you go? There's no one going to put you
right,
out.
right,
So we generally think we accept our plot, and then
right,
we go to New York, or we go, what I
right,
mean? That's where we
right,
get our services.
right,
So
right,
it's
right.
like I'm thinking for the people who aren't as blessed as you, um, do you think it's a needed commodity to have a center localized in Bergen County saying, hey, if you need help,
Definitely, without even thinking about it twice. Yeah, it's definitely something that's needed. Who doesn't like a sense of community?
yeah,
I don't care what background you are, if you have a religion or you don't. Everyone's looking for some sort of tribe that they can identify with, or some place that they can go and feel comfortable. It is needed. I mean, you see what's happening in the world today. There's just so much hatred that's being exposed now, and unfortunately, the whole gay slander has been going on forever. And we're lucky, like you said. We're in an area that's now cosmopolitan, so we kind of we're used to it. It's almost like second nature. But there's still we're at a different point in our journey. But these kids that are coming out now, or even adults that are coming out now, they do need a place to turn. There have been, I know that in town there have been Hackensack. There have been attempts at really like meeting places through one person knows another person. That I remember my partner years and years ago. He was a father, and they had a thing for gay fathers. And he joined for a little while, and they would go from one house to another and meet, and that. So it was such camaraderie and bonding
yeah,
kind of thing.
yeah. But
But a center
yeah.
would be excellent.
Yeah. But what you're talking about are people that took the initiative upon themselves, like I'm doing here.
Right,
This is my
right,
initiative. No one's paying me to do this.
right,
So
right,
it's different to be in a town in Bergen County, right?
right,
You pay taxes, you live here, you work, you own a house, you do
Yeah.
everything, you vote,
We
and
garden, we garden, we garden
you
together.
garden. Yes, we have gardens,
I love your
amazing,
garden.
beautiful gardens,
I love your
and
garden.
yet there's not even a designated safe space for us.
Right,
They don't, we're not, not always on the census. They
right,
don't look, we're not visible. There's nowhere to go. There's no safety net for us. There's no
right,
plan in place if you need to go to a shelter, or, to a specific shelter that,
right.
that you feel safe or anything. So
Right.
it's like, what, what do you think about that?
What do we do? Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's so tenuous. It's like any minute everything can fall apart.
right,
You know what
right.
I mean?
Again, Hackensack. I guess I see Hackensack. I've always put my faith on Hackensack. I live here most of my 68 years, and so it's always been part. It's always been my town. And I've always said that eventually it's going to come back to what it used to be back in the day, and you see that starting to happen. I think there are more people in this town. I know you're speaking Bergen County. We are the seat of Bergen County. So I really think there are enough people that would support that. I think it's a great idea. And I think there are people, that would support that. Um, I mentioned to you before, I asked if you had known Randy Glover, who was new to Hackensack a few years. And I know he's straight man, but he was trying to get things going with music in the town. I know at the Hack Pack, the
Yeah.
new Hack Pack,
Mhm.
we did some art shows and they do theater there, and then they use that meeting room downstairs. I know they would be open to something. He tried a couple of years ago. They would do they were bringing like the gay bingo thing, like little events,
Yeah.
no place, nothing that you can go for help
Yeah.
but they were bringing things, and they had I got gay Valentine's Day dance, this a little
Yeah.
party. It was literally like myself and a few friends that came to support. But
Yeah.
I think there are people that are open to something like that, and I would put my stake that it could happen. It could happen probably easier than you think, but it is kind of sad really that it doesn't exist now.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I'm doing this and I'm learning with each video that I do,
Right,
I'm actually learning because initially I was like, there are no services for LGBT people. And a lot of people feel that way. They're like, there's nothing here for us, you know? But there are people that are working, from the county that are
right,
doing work.
right,
But the problem is no one knows about it. No one knows how
right,
to get connected to it. No one wants to talk about it.
right,
I'm
right,
trying to get it from their end saying, "Hey, let me know about your services so I can
right,
get it out," because,
right, right,
not everyone, like we have people that are professionals that, may need to know. So a center in its essence is just connecting people to these
right,
resources.
right,
And we don't have that connection. So the actual things, the problems can be solved very easily and very quickly because it's
right,
being done, but we have no connection to it. There's a disconnect, and that's what a center will do.
right. Well, I know I can speak from my experience. The gay center in New York City, in Manhattan on 13th
Yeah.
Street. Are you familiar with it?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, that's a great model to even look at.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's changed through the years. Actually, one of my former students is now, I can't say the CEO. I don't know exactly what his title is, but he's pretty up there in that framework there. That's a great place. I mean, they had social things for the gays. They had art. I went to art classes. They had an art group. They went there. They had dances there. They had sage meetings for
Yeah.
senior gay people. All kinds of things.
Yeah.
That is a really great format to even, not that you have to replicate it, but that certainly could be done if
Yeah.
there was a physical space to do that in, or even once a month. I don't know. I'm just talking off the top of my bald head. Like even once a month, twice a month. That a designated spot in town for that exact
Yeah.
purpose. I think that's probably an easy fix, or a good match that something we have we can consider that could be considered,
Yeah.
so yeah,
Awesome. So, before I
that's great.
wrap it
I
up,
love
yeah,
I love what you're doing. It's a great.
thank
I
you.
like yeah,
Thank
really
you.
seriously. And we
Thank
all
you.
have our purpose and our journey, so that's it's great to see that there are people
Thank
that
you.
are connected and doing good things from the heart.
Yeah. So, before we wrap it up, You have anything else that you want to add to?
Um,
Like, let me go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, no, go ahead. No, no.
I was gonna say, why do you think there isn't a center here?
Why do I think there isn't?
Yeah, this is one of the richest counties in the United States, and you would think it would be like an easy, you
Right, right. Like, why
know,
is it? Yeah, yeah.
why
I,
is it
re-
not?
I really wish I could answer that. I don't know. Maybe no one's really even tried to develop that. I don't know. I don't. I know people. I mean, again, having grown up here and living here, there are gay people in town. And they're very openly gay, and some not so openly. But there are a lot of gay people in this. Here in the neighboring towns.
Yeah.
Maywood. Paramus. I mean, we're all here, and we're not going any place, so we're all here. So I don't really know why. It seems like such an easy question. It should be a simple answer, but I don't have one for you. I don't have one for you. Maybe we should change that. Maybe
Yes, yes,
we
that's
should
all
change.
right. So let me. All right, I have another.
Yeah,
Just sounding
brainstorm,
off.
brainstorm.
So I've been reaching out to agencies in the county and people that are doing services, and I know they are reaching out, and I don't know to what extent they get the authority to work with LGBT, because just because you're LGBT or just because you put on a flag, a rainbow flag,
Right,
doesn't mean you're qualified.
right.
But I'm assuming that they're qualified and they are doing a good job. But when I go to talk to them, it's sort of like they ghost me. They don't want to. They won't respond. They won't talk. But if I imagine it won't be, if let's say if I was going to talk to an agency about handicap services, I
Right,
wouldn't imagine that they would turn around and be like, I don't want to talk to you. We can't talk.
right, right, right,
You
right,
know what I
right.
mean? It's just I'm asking like, hey, where do you get your qualifications? What exactly do you offer? That's it.
Because,
And no one wants to
unfortunately,
answer those questions.
right, unfortunately, the bias still exists, in a lot of
Yeah.
places. But you would think that in a town like this, or in a county like this, like you said, one of the richest counties in the country, that there would be more people that would be more open to that and supportive of that. And I'm sure that there are somewhere. I'm sure that there are
Yeah.
somewhere. Um, I don't know. Maybe we should make it a venture to look deeper into the community.
Well, this is what I'm doing. I
If
figured
you-
my my understanding is legislators don't do legislation from the goodness of their heart, right? They don't just say, I'm going to fix the world, I'm going to fix this or that or the other thing.
right,
They do it because people, the constituents say, hey, we need this.
right,
And if no one talks, and being LGBT, growing up in this town, growing up, born in 1970, growing up through this, we learned to just
well,
accept.
you were born in 1970.
Yeah, I was born in the 70s. So,
I was graduating high school.
so,
Sorry, I
so
didn't mean to interrupt.
no. So what I'm saying is like we are kind of like taught to just accept our plot, our plight, excuse me,
Right,
and just it is what it is, kind of a deal. And I think that has a lot to do with what's going on here, is people just accept things. So for instance, there are people that are in domestic abuse, a lot of them that are LGBT, and they
right,
just accept that,
right,
are where it might be verbal abuse or mental abuse, and they accept that. They're like, oh,
right,
just ignore it, just ignore it.
right,
So I think that's part of the problem. So what I'm trying to do is make awareness, and going out and talking to people like yourself
right,
and talking to others and saying, there's a crystal meth addiction going on throughout our county, and
right,
that devastates gay men.
right,
There's transgender people here that have to go to New York just to get basic services.
right, right,
There's 20 to 40% of homeless youth from the Human Rights Commission are LGBT. So what are the services for them in our county? You
yeah,
know, some towns have GSA, some don't. So
right.
what happens to the kids aren't lucky enough to be in that school?
And unfortunately, you hear so many tragic stories, and that's why I made it my own quest. When I went to the high school, to do that, to be that, to be a voice and ears for a lot of these kids. And so I again, I'm just speaking about my own experience now, but so for me, I found just even doing that, having someone to listen and to share and to bounce off of, is so needed Anthony. It's really,
Well,
so I
I,
don't, I think we need to,
yeah.
we need to work on that.
I wouldn't say just doing that. I think what you did and your life that you lived was amazing. And I'm so grateful that you existed, because a whole generation of our elders don't exist anymore.
Right? Tell me,
And,
hello.
so visibility for the up and coming youth is we don't exist. Like when I grew up, there was no visibility.
Right,
So we had to make up
right.
everything as we go along.
That's an excellent point. I mean, my generation was the first hit with the AIDS epidemic, so I look at my own life and I don't know how I'm here today, honestly. I lost my whole generation of friends. Like it was the one time I lost like, all my friends, like all of my gay friends.
Yeah.
It was really tragic. Things are a lot better now, but still, yeah. I mean, it's that voice of I won't say wisdom, but of experience.
Yeah.
Even when I used to have talks with the kids, I would say, listen, I'm not preaching to you. I'm just giving you my advice and my opinion, and you have to give me credit that I'm here on this planet at least 3 times longer than you have been. So just give me that respect. And they were so good. Not that I had even asked for it, but you have to make your point. To some people, you have to make your point that I'm not preaching. I'm just sharing my experience and trying to pass what I've learned and what I've been through on to you. And it's necessary. It's
Yeah.
definitely necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
I just want to say thank you for being the type of person you were, because most people would not be visible, and in a town and in a time where visibility could have gotten you fired, could have
right,
gotten you forced out, and
right,
you know and after Stonewall there was the Lavender Scare, and
right,
lots
right,
of
right, right,
there
right,
was
right.
lots
Yeah.
of issues.
Right, right, right.
So
Again, at that time, you're young, I never even thought about that,
yeah, so
um,
talking the way you talk and living the life you lived, I just want to say thank you. I
okay.
really appreciate people like
Thank you.
you.
Thank you. Thank you. I think it's important for what you're doing and to keep a dialogue open like this. It's so necessary that, sometimes it just sounds like words, but,
Yeah.
like we were talking, yeah, 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 but it's, it is really necessary. And so I give you, support in what you're doing and good luck. And I can refer you to lots of people to talk to. I told you earlier, 200 people. I don't know about
If you
200.
if you have,
I,
if you get even a fraction of that, I would be happy to talk to each and every one of them.
I actually sent out a message to a friend of mine. He loves to talk more than me. So,
So do I.
so I will definitely pass his info on to you. And I took it upon myself to share what you had sent me. So I'll catch up with him later or tomorrow over the weekend and get back to you. Thank you for
Thank you.
letting me share this platform with you.
Thank you. Thank
And
you.
thanks for thinking about me.
Of course.
We'll see you soon. Stay well.
Right.
Thank you.
I'm gonna stop the recording now.
Okay. Thank you.